We go. All right, what is up, my fellow anti-netters? Here with me is a man named Tae Kim. He's a anti-netter, a Zettelkasten fan, note taker, and doing his own very awesome and unique things. And let me put this on the put it on gallery view here so people can see both of us, when watching the video. But Tay, yeah, you reached out to me a few months ago with the request. I have my big Bible of a book. It's like 550 pages of my anti-net Zettelkasten book. And you requested, you're like, hey, I will invest, just to read it early because you're so obsessed with note taking in Zettelkasten. You were like, hey, I'll invest and I'll pay $500 if you give me access to it. And I was like, all right. Well, hell yeah. I mean, this guy obviously values it so much that he'll pay $500, and it'll also be good to get feedback from you. And I guess I'll just tease this out to the current viewers and audience, and I'll just brag about the book and what you said. But you said like the value that you got from the book far exceeded the $500, price
Mhm.
tag that you paid for it, which is really awesome, and I'm grateful to hear. And I'm also grateful, to hear how it helped you. And yeah, I guess in this call, this is the first time you and I have actually chatted face to face. And you are in Korea, and I think that this will be awesome to learn about you, what you're up to. I know we have some topics that you outlined, analog versus digital, and hearing about the things that you are working on and developing. So yeah, I'm excited, Tay. So yeah, I'll kick things back to you and let you kind of introduce yourself and tell all of my community, what you've been up to and what you're doing and all of that.
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me here. I was ex actually expecting, to chat with you a little bit casually, and it's honor to be invited here. My name is Tae, and I am leading a Korean group in Korea for interest, which is consists of people who are interested in doing Zettelkasten or broadly knowledge management. And this area is quite new to Korean, and I couldn't find any related community here in Korea, so I created one. It's held on KakaoTalk. It's like WhatsApp in Korea,
Okay.
and we can create a community space there. Mainly, it's like a small Discord within KakaoTalk,
Hmm.
and and I'm lucky enough to have more than 800 people there.
Nice.
Um, yeah, and we mainly talk about knowledge management, how to use some new note-taking apps, some other tools for thought, and we share our own interpretation on Zettelkasten as well, and they
Yeah.
argue a lot. Yeah, people
It,
have different perspectives.
yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
I guess I'm from what I've gathered is yeah, you've introduced my I came in like a bull in a china shop, like a year ago,
yeah. Hmm.
like just kicking and being like, you know what? No, analog is like the true way. It's like the Lumanian way. People were just obsessed with wiki links, and no, they weren't really
Mm.
following the true Zettelkasten method the way
Right,
Lumen this
right.
uh really, followed it. And I've kind of created this resurgence, this renaissance, and within the analog form. And so I'm sure that's added some color to the discussion as well. You've been
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like you've been kind of like the translator, the messenger that's brought it forth over there to to
oh
Korea.
yeah. I hope I. Well, I'm not sure I did it right, but I tried it at least.
Yeah.
And you know what? Surprisingly, people are interested in this taking a note in hand, and I think they're mainly interested in educating their kids.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I created another chat group for talking about this, how we use analog stuff to educate, youngsters.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
that's helpful to allow them or enable them to kind of unplug. Like,
Uh,
we've been doing that with our, my little 2-year-old is like, in the mornings we used to be like, all right, Ashlyn, let us chill for a second. Here's YouTube Kids. Go like, watch YouTube Kids for like, 30 minutes. And now we're like being more deliberate, and we're like, okay, play with this puzzle offline, use, not
yeah,
analog
yeah, yeah,
knowledge development, but
yeah,
yeah, that's cool though. I can
yeah,
understand that.
yeah. Um, anyway, I'm very interested in, doing this knowledge management and especially in Zettelkasten, and I want to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
So I searched for many materials, but couldn't get uh, the I couldn't solve my own problems when I try to, replicate what Luhmann did. Um, so I so I did, you know, I think most of the people do the same thing like me. When they face some missing part described in Sean K. Aaron's book, people usually fill it with their
Mm-hmm.
own knowledge or own, guess.
Method. Yeah.
Yeah, and then complete their own method. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I did. Um, and well, I just and I so I built my own methodology and did it for like 6 more months and didn't really get what I wanted. So I thought, well, Luman did all day, but I did like 1 hour or two per day. So that might be the problem. So I just focus. So I uh, get my focus back to the main job,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't um didn't continue to taking notes. And then I was actually actively looking for business opportunity in Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and there was some opportunities about group chat community last year.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of this year, I was confident and that it is almost impossible to build another Discord
Mm-hmm.
because it's so powerful and it has a network effect, and it is almost impossible to take some of the users out of this Discord user
Mm-hmm.
base.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so disappointed and try to find something that I have a passion. Uh, and then I get back to this knowledge management again.
Yeah.
I think, and then I was I was trying to consume many materials and uh learn how actually Luhmann did the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
and I and I got your accidentally I found your newsletter, and I thought it was oh, this newsletter is quite different from others in a little bit interesting way, because I
Oh
thought
yeah.
the newsletter was published by some old guy. I'm sorry
I know.
about that, Scott, but
Right.
it was
Do
the font
because I know. I
because of the
use
font.
the Courier new font,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's an ode to the old school copywriters back in the day
Oh
that I
yeah,
look up
yeah.
to. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this my thing and
uh,
use it. And yeah, it's
yeah.
hilarious. It's
So I guess it's oh,
yeah.
this must
Hey,
be from some retired guy.
yeah, yeah, I know. This old dude. Hey, it's on
Yeah.
brand because I'm all about the anti-net, the analog,
Yeah.
knowledge systems. It's like I'm like just like the font is like me typing on a typewriter, in the corner. So it's on brand. I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I just, I read some of your newsletters and skip the rest. And then somehow I found that you were writing a book.
Hmm.
And I'm quite surprised. Your claim was so strong that most of us are doing something wrong, and it's mainly because we're just following what Shonke Aaron said in his book.
Hmm.
So because I had some, uh, I also have some feeling that there should be some translation, subjective translation from Shonke Aaron's book. So I was really excited to actually read your book, and because it's almost, you said it's almost done in uh June, and one option is to wait 2 more months
Hmm.
and see what's published, and the other option is to I'd like to offer give you an offer that you cannot reject.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought about what's the best offer, and I thought giving you a feedback, reading 500 books is
Hmm.
quite a good offer, I thought. So
Yeah.
you might not reject my offer, so that's what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I mean, I think you're the only one, well, besides my editor, to
uh-huh.
have read it, end to end. And so, um, and yeah, if you hadn't done that, you still wouldn't have read it or seen it. Because it's been done, since May, since
Mhm.
like the first draft, right? And I've
Mhm.
just had my copy editor. Then I've just been like, spending half of my time on my top secret project, the of all about creating the neo intellectual life. How do you actually do what you want to do every single day, which is reading, learning, becoming a writing machine, and then also building a tribe and a community, and so like that's 50% of my time. The other 50% is like nudging my book along. So it's still not released, So you pride yourself on being like the what perhaps the first end-to-end
Yeah.
reader. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I really honor that.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for you too. So thank
Uh,
you. And then, yeah. So, and to
Thank
kind
you.
of summarize, so you've been,
Mm-hmm.
I think in the past, it looked like from your profile, like you were in the 500. Was it 500 startups? It was called
Oh
or
yeah, yeah.
something.
Yeah, 500 Startup Korea.
Yeah,
It's a startup accelerator.
yeah, nice. And so and like last year, you were trying to start like a chat app that to take
Mm-hmm,
on
mm-hmm,
Discord, but because of the
mm-hmm,
network effect and because of how developed that is, you're like, okay, I'm running into a wall here. Let's pivot into this knowledge management
mm-hmm,
space. And it sounds like, and this is kind of maybe what you guys were exploring, because you conducted like a Zettelkasten, an anti-net, workshop in Korea. But it sounds like to me what you're trying to develop and figure out is, okay, how can I figure out the true Lumanian way of that
mm-hmm,
he developed knowledge? How can I extract how can I learn this fundamentals, and how can I perhaps
mm-hmm.
extract the key lessons and translate it over to digital too, right? Is that did I get that
Right,
right?
right. Exactly, exactly.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you working actively on like a startup or a like software or anything that's starting to form and been developing stuff?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm not actually. I haven't started developing anything. I'm still in the learning mode.
Yeah.
I think I got some lessons from your book and my own practices, but still, I don't I don't see a clear path from early adopter to large audience,
Mm-hmm.
mass audience, because it's you know Will is doing a great part, you know, to to um to actually gain from this knowledge management. I
Mm-hmm.
think you have to do it daily basis, and it requires a lot of willpower. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's more like running a fitness center. So I'm trying to find some, tweaked way so that people can get a little bit of, Zettelkasten, um, you know, um, the good things of doing Zettelkasten. Like I'm trying to find a way to do a minimal Zettelkasten
Mm-hmm.
still. Yeah,
Ah, nice. Yeah. And
yeah.
do you have a are you using like what's your primary knowledge, management tool? Do you use
Oh,
your own analog Zettelkasten, your own Antinet, or are you using digital, or what's your current setup right now?
I'm currently using Obsidian
Oh,
right
nice.
now. Yeah, I'm not totally
Like
into this analog stuff. I'm sorry, Scott.
yeah, yeah. Like everyone else
Yeah.
using Obsidian. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you used
Yeah.
what are the other tools that people are using out there? Like the new one, I think that's
Mhm.
emerged, LogSec or LogSeek people are using.
Logseq. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually prefer Logseq because I'm a good, a fan of Rome research. I
Okay.
still want to use it, but somehow it's quite not popular in Korea.
Oh,
Everybody
really?
uses, Obsidian. Yes,
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
free. Yeah, these guys, Koreans, don't want to pay for their personal productivity tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Obsidian is quite popular here.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Don't worry.
yeah.
I know people will be switching to the analog revolution as soon as they discover that the bubble graph boys are just are just
Yeah.
propping up some hyped solution. I'm just kidding. Like
Yeah.
it's funny. It's because I've like I'm so confident in my belief that like okay, well, Obsidian is a great writing app. It's better than Word
Mm-hmm,
in my opinion. I
mm-hmm.
just don't think it's the best knowledge development app. That is my
Yeah,
my big statement and thing.
I
Um,
think so. I totally agree with you
yeah.
because I don't think less than 5% of my group members they're actually managing their knowledge.
Hmm.
The rest 95% they're collecting some good articles and
Information.
organize them. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've called it the guy we've had on Lane, we call it a personal information storage system.
Oh yeah,
Instead of being PKM, it's
yeah.
it's
I
it's PISS.
yeah.
That's
I watched your video before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's funny. I think I've kind of, I of course I'm
Mhm.
adamant and firm in my stance of I think analog is the best way to develop knowledge and really kind of turn you into a writing machine, which is I think the end goal. That's one end goal that people want, but really what people want is they want to put out like deeply processed, well footnoted books
Mhm.
or a thesis or a dissertation. And it's weird. It's like I just find that at least in my experience, it's like the analog form and analog knowledge development really contributes to that. However, I am, not a Luddite. I am also open-minded where I'm not crazy. I'm not like this person that's just like, oh no, it's awful. I understand different people have different preferences. And,
Mhm,
for
mhm,
instance, like the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, like that guy just thinks in code all day. There's no way I would, uh, convince him to use analog tools, right? And some
mhm,
people just are
mhm.
wired in certain ways, which is fine. So
Yeah.
digital works
Yeah.
better for some people, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I have 2 points to address. One is that, as you said, even for those 95% of Korean group members, they're building their knowledge by collecting the information or articles or other resources because they use their brain, build their knowledge. So even though the building is uh, is very effective as Lumen, but still they can build something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my perspective is that Zettelkasten is kind of is a tool to facilitate knowledge management, which is done usually mainly by our own brain.
Yeah. The
Yeah, doing
the
some stuff. Yeah,
the discipline and willpower like you were talking about.
yeah. And you you just collect newspaper, and suppose that you're just scraping them, uh scraping some part of the newspaper so you can collect them and make a book. By doing that, at least you can read some stuff that you are interested in and build some part of your knowledge, right? Even without writing anything. But I'm not saying it's the effective one, but still it's actually it's building knowledge and developing knowledge a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's still far effective than someone who is not doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't have a
Yeah,
system,
yeah,
all of
right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
and and another point is that I agree with you, that somehow people have preference, yeah, in terms of uh how to take a note.
mhm.
So it's I after
Yeah.
I told you that I led a group study of 15 people, doing this paper-based Zettelkasten
Yeah.
all together.
Mhm.
You know what? I actually made them pay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they would
So
take it seriously and
yeah,
invest in it. Yeah.
yeah. So they paid like less than, it's almost $90
Mhm.
for 4 weeks, and we have one live session per week. And it turns out that people just have a preference, and like paper over analog over digital, or vice versa. So
Mhm.
even though they can see a lot of advantages of analog over digital ones, they just don't like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they want to take a note in digital, they just take note in digital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite surprising for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think there's a lot there, and like the analog versus digital. I always my major point is has always been to just try out and build out the analog first, and then
Mm-hmm,
if you choose to take the lessons of how Lumen built it,
mm-hmm,
like build out your own anti-net first, and then from that take the lessons over to Obsidian so that you can know how it should be set up if you want to build a Zettelkasten, like
mm-hmm.
and develop knowledge. Um, but yeah, that's really awesome, man. You sent me for the viewers out there is like, Tay, you sent me that awesome picture of you guys in basically a conference room working and developing this
Yeah, I
stuff
can
and
share that on the
working through it.
screen.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think I can give you share screen. Yeah, do you have the ability to share screen?
Oh, not yet.
Wait, here, let me give it to you. Cool. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, this is a space provided by Naver, the biggest IT company in Korea.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a make of Line, and Naver is a search engine, Korean search engine.
Okay.
Yeah, I exploit those space for this study. Uh,
Nice.
it's for startup.
Yeah,
Space for
yeah.
startup. Yeah.
I
Anyway,
I
yeah.
yeah, I think something cool could come out of this land too, especially you're kind of, developing there's like a few others, in the space, but you're kind of like trying to figure out the mix and the relationship between analog digital
Mhm,
knowledge management, the pros and cons.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
what did you guys outline on that board? Like I see some nice note cards out there
Oh
pasted
yeah,
on the
yeah.
board.
This is this is whole my Zettelkasten. made within a week.
Oh, nice.
So it's a red can you see red words written on
Yeah.
whiteboard?
Yeah.
And that's the index, key terms.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
And I have like one one card for one key term, and there are you know several for one another key term. And so I explain my experience to other members, after writing just this amount of cards.
Mm-hmm.
And and the main lesson was, wow, A6 size note card is quite big.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
Yeah.
big surprise for me.
Yeah. Like you can fit a lot of information on there. Like I think it's like
Yeah,
800
yeah,
characters or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
So when I write in digital, some I think most of my atomic notes are can be summarized by one sentence, even though they have some details.
mm-hmm.
But here, when I write on this A6 card, I think it is I my experience was it was like a starting point of developing my idea.
Exactly. It's kind of
And
like you're
yeah.
developing and writing out. They're kind of like I see them as kind of like paragraphs, like that
Hmm.
fit into your end, you know, book, or they're kind of like long paragraphs almost.
Hmm.
But it's interesting for me is like I've learned to really appreciate it and like it because it's like, the whole concept of thinking on paper. Like oftentimes I'll start writing a main card
Hmm.
without even knowing kind of like the clear. I know of the general idea from creating the bib
Hmm.
card and the bib notes first of kind of what I want to say, but I don't, and I sort of know how to say it, but not
Hmm.
until I actually write on the main card do I actually like deeply process and like, able to actually write it out. But yeah, it especially in the beginning, it's like it feels like so big compared to 3 by 5 inch cards, smaller
Hmm.
cards. Um, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
Um,
in some cases, I it was like I was starting a research with a given idea,
hmm
which can be summarized in a single sentence. So I need to review my own notes, and I actually wanted to search on the internet too. So it's like a small research. Um, that was completely different experience from my note taking in digital. So
hmm
in digital, I just write down what I was thinking, and it's like dumping some few ideas and you know uh try to clarify the thought that I was thinking. But it's like in digital it's more like clarifying.
hmm
In analog it's more like doing research. That's my
hmm
impression.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
that's interesting. What out of those people in like that that conference room and
mhm.
also out of the people in your like your chat group, what
Uh-huh.
what are what is the goal of most of them? Are they academics? Are they just freelancers,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
entrepreneurs, professionals? What's the general title and occupation of these
Well,
these people?
it's quite broad. So I
Mhm.
think that's because this is the only group where people actually discuss Zettelkasten.
Yeah.
And so there are students who want to study more effective.
Mhm.
There are some professors who want to accumulate and their knowledge and write papers or write other type of articles.
Mhm.
And some startup product managers who want to develop their understanding on customers,
Mm-hmm.
and some teachers wanna try to teach some new way of learning to their students. And yeah, there are some some personal investors who want to take notes on their own decision about their investment decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So many, it's quite broad, and I think it is really super niche in Korea. So it's the only place to discuss about this knowledge management. So
Yeah.
I think the spectrum is quite broad.
So it sounds like not a lot of people in Korea even know about like Obsidian or PKM
Right?
stuff. Like it's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
very, very new, you're saying?
yeah. Because of
Yeah.
the language barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still very challenging to find a good material in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my blog is quite popular among these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And most of the materials are in English.
Mm-hmm.
So we are actively discussing how to use machine translator to get a good translation.
Yeah.
So one way is to translate English article to Japanese first and then translate to Korean.
Really?
These two, yeah, it's quite
Wow. So
effective because
English to Japanese is better
yeah,
you
yeah,
do a better
because
translation.
there are more materials.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they all compare the performance of different translators like Google's one, Kindle's one, Amazon's one,
Mm-hmm.
and our own one from Naver, Papago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the reason the language barrier is quite large.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way larger than um people think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I've done these YouTube videos and stuff, and I don't think people realize or think about like,
Mm-hmm.
the different cultures and geographic
Mm-hmm.
areas, and whether or not even like PKM people even know about this area.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, look, it's funny. It's like I tell people, it's like, you know, PKM is a niche, within knowledge management, which
Mm-hmm.
is, kind of a niche within productivity. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and then you like look at Zettelkasten, which is a niche within the niche within the niche. And then you
Mm-hmm.
look at, what I've created, like the anti-net
Yeah.
Zettelkasten, it's like
Yeah.
going way down, but it's like
Yeah.
even the sub niche, like PKM, it's still, very, very, there's not a lot of market penetration there,
Yeah.
yet. But out of curiosity, have you talked with these
Mm-hmm.
professors? Like, what's their current
Mm-hmm.
process and way of managing knowledge? How have they created papers? Do they just use like, straight uh Microsoft Word, to develop their papers, or they LaTeX and
Yeah,
that type
LaTeX.
of editor? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
LaTeX.
I didn't specifically ask them about their note-taking workflow. Um, but they just I don't think they're quite different from the rest of us. Uh,
Yeah.
most of our members are building their own note-taking process, which is built before this, knowing this kind of stuff, and they're quite similar.
Hmm.
You know, different note-taking apps for different purposes, like Google Keep for maintaining their task and articles, and then
Hmm.
use Notion or Evernote
Hmm.
to clip that website, and then use another tool to digest the content of that article, something like that. Um, um, and that's the reason why they're so interested in this Zettelkasten and stuff, even for professors, because they don't have a systematic way of developing and accumulating their knowledge.
Hmm.
So in the last session, the I show you the picture,
Hmm.
and actually there are 4 or 5 more members participating in online. One of them is a professor she's almost like my mom's age. Is like is she says she's almost close to the retirement,
Mm-hmm.
and then she was quite surprised by this process.
Mm-hmm.
She was quite surprised that there is a way, a systematic way to build and develop knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Did you show them or her the whole,
Uh-huh.
the whole overall process of creating bib cards and then going from bib card to main card?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Just shorter version, like not as I couldn't elaborate like
You you you
you
you, you
did
didn't
it.
go the 550-page version?
No, no, no. I gave us just a summary and my interpretation. I try to copy what you did in your book.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can deliver every detail of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and uh generally people think yeah it's yeah they agree that this is something Luhmann did
Mm-hmm.
at least, and but still they prefer doing taking note in digital or analog by
Mm-hmm.
their own preference.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope, well, it's this. I hope they at least learn, including me, learn something from your material that uh, so that we can uh, do a better, we can build a better note taking process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, you told me, I think we've kind of touched on a lot of the stuff we were going to touch on. I think the one
yeah.
thing we talked about, was like I like how you say like the anti-net, is kind of like an
Mm-hmm,
infinite whiteboard, and like because you can draw
mm-hmm,
diagrams on it and then you can continually revise the diagrams and develop the
mm-hmm,
diagrams, like infinitely internally.
mm-hmm,
And then the other thing I think we were going to talk about was the whole I think you foresee the future as centering around collaboration.
mm-hmm,
And I guess apparently there's like rumors that Rome Research is going to
mm-hmm,
be developing some collaboration features or something. So
mm-hmm.
can you talk on that and collaboration?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't know the details about how Rome will implement their collaboration feature. But you have done you started your own startup before, and investors like company who can make a product which is used by multiple people at the same time, so that it can have multiple network effect.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally the product uh many note-taking apps start implementing this collaboration feature. Heptabase, Logseek, Ardent's research. I don't know about the Obsidian, but Rome research as well. And at the same time, when I reflect my own experience on knowledge development, it was really helpful to talk with other collaborators. So we have like big conferences in academia and small workshops, so we can share our knowledge and develop them and help them develop. So that could be one key feature for note-taking apps, and at the same time, it is most effective. I think uh, we can talk, we can talk with friends without any willpower.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big I think, because we don't need any willpower to talk with friends, or talk with someone who's interested in the topics that I'm interested in. um this collaboration feature actually mm, benefit mass audience
Mm-hmm.
uh about this knowledge management. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it makes it more less lonely and more fun, I guess you could
Oh
say.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. It's like I feel like both are needed, like the deep work time, but then also it's like you don't want to.
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm sure it's like probably was frustrating for Luhmann too, where he would, he created 70 books and these insane theories, yet he had no one to that could understand them well enough to actually talk with
Mm-mm-mm.
and collaborate with.
Mm.
And I'm sure he found it. I know him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I actually talked with Luhmann's youngest son, and Luhmann had a really like a friend. They called him Bruder, and which is German for brother. And so he
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
had like this one collaboration partner, but he passed away. And like after he
Mm-mm-mm.
passed away, it was, kind of hard for the collaboration that, he kind of
Mm-mm-mm.
never he he missed. And so I think that's an interesting thing to add as a additional layer into PKM. Different people get it in different outlets. Like I get my
Mm-mm-mm.
collaboration and my connection, via just taking the PDF of the chapter outline, and like sending it and emailing it to my audience and getting their feedback
Mm-mm-mm.
and stuff. But the I think the other ways like of being able to collaborate, especially if you're doing like have a research partner, right? I'm sure that
Mm-mm-mm.
would be an area where I think collaboration could really shine,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
writing a
So I
book
think,
together. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But the form should be more fluent. I mean, smooth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like so it's group chat is quite attractive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people just gather and talk about something and somehow they develop their knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering how I can connect this group chat to knowledge development a while ago, but I quit that group chat part. So
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily want the real time, you almost want that
right, right, right,
asynchronous
right, right,
communication,
right,
like kind of like
right,
almost
right.
like a comment thread, like
Mm-hmm.
but without it being, boring. It's kind of like, what Google Docs has done a great job at, like having that the comment thread on the
Mm-hmm.
side, but maybe done in a better way. Um
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What's your overall goal
Uh-huh.
in vision for like the next let's say 6 months from now? Like where do you want to be in your journey in this whole, you're essentially on this mission which you've done a hell of a job at of
Yeah,
bringing
yeah.
knowledge management and PKM to Korea and creating that community. Where do you foresee yourself 6 months from now? Do you want to hopefully outline like an app or a startup to create, or, you know, do you just yeah, what's your vision 6 months from now?
Um, First one is for my group members and including me. Where we are going to start our small group session to actually summarize, all related materials into Korean. It's not gonna translation everything, but at least we can include some summaries so that everyone who start participating in this group can find a good uh, uh, index to
Mhm.
learn how to manage their knowledge.
Yeah. So kind of like
Yeah,
Zettelkasten index and introduction as well, and like PKM and the different apps and like the landscape, that type
right,
of thing.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, 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 yeah. So um, as I said, currently less than 10% are quite, uh, comfortable with this knowledge management, even in this group. So I want the rest of 90 people to learn about this knowledge management and find their own workflow which fit
Mhm.
to themselves. And
The internet.
so yeah, 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 including internet.
The only
I
true
see a
real
big
workflow
potential for
analog. Yeah.
Scott, you should think about that. I saw a big opportunity on education. Uh, you know, and you, this sensing stuff and you know this analog is somehow fit with, kid education. You think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know why I'm on YouTube. I should get on YouTube Kids, get on the kids channel.
yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that insight. That's actually
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to I need to take it. I know there's a few of the other anti-netters, they've like taught it to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Even so there's there's I'll give a shout out to a few. One is Stephanie Myers, and she's taught her kid, she's homeschooled her kid and taught him, and I think he's actually deaf or hard of hearing or
Mm-hmm.
something, and he just learns differently, and it's been awesome seeing him develop, and he's uses an anti-net. And then we have another like anti-netter in the community. She's like developing like a well, starting to talk about developing a children's book teaching the Zettelkasten. I think there is something there. You're right. I haven't it
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
clicked for me yet, but
Uh-huh,
because
uh-huh.
my toddler is still 2 years old, so she's too young. But I think eventually I'll understand. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'll give you one example. Time is almost up, but let me give you
yeah,
one example. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
one guy in our study group. You saw the picture, right? And that guy played with the kids. He's not actually doing any Zettelkasten, but
Mm-hmm.
writing on a note, and then try to put one card behind the most relevant one.
Yes.
That's almost it. And they actually made a trip, family trip plan.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That sounds really
Yeah.
fun. And
That and
yeah.
that process, I mean, you kind of know it
Yeah,
in my book, is
yeah,
about
yeah.
like the association of how
Right, right.
powerful that is for
Yeah,
learning. And
yeah.
like it's like the NIH did that study where they showed it as like it's
Mm,
actually like a cure for depression when you're like you're on a
mm,
search or a quest for looking for the most similar idea and like kind of linking ideas.
mm.
Um, and I mean that's awesome. You kind of nailed it because it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you don't have to worry about the numbering, even just get it
Right,
closest, the
right.
new card closest to the most related card. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
um
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
And then return to my vision. And the one is to, have a good resource for all Korean members. Uh, and the other is to have I somehow want to find a minimum version of, this zero custom. I don't still think it's quite it's not quite it's not quite manageable by, usual people. It requires a lot of willpower, and we have, nowadays we have lots of things to do. So
Mm-hmm.
my question that I want to answer is that how I can minimize the whole process into some subset so that we can get, like, Pareto principle, like 70% or 60% of this,
Mm-hmm.
knowledge management. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so that's your vision, is to kind of get the biggest bang for the buck
Mm.
in in PKM and knowledge management, the 80/20. You want 80% of the results from 20% of the activity and input.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um
Oh, you
awesome.
don't like it, right?
No, I think it's fine. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I'm open. I'm I'm all about, like especially starting out,
Uh,
just doing whatever it takes to create momentum, because I think a lot
mhm,
of people
mhm,
get
mhm,
overwhelmed with like the index and the
mhm, mhm.
numbering, stuff like that. So yeah, honestly, I think the like creating the cards and just putting them in the most related order is like
Mhm.
that's a huge part of it. Um, yeah, of course I'm biased in that, like I have my reason, like once you've built out your anti-net, like I have my reasons to stick with it, because it's like has the beauty of chaos and order at the same
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
And but yeah, create momentum, start small. I'm a fan of that, like yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
um
Oh, well, Scott, I actually have a few questions, but let me ask those questions in email.
cool, cool. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
let me I'll stop our recording. I think this was awesome for people to see kind of how the landscape is in Zettelkasten and Korea.
Mm.
So anyway, thanks for I'll stop the recording and then we can chat a little bit, after the recording
Uh-huh.
stops. But yeah, thank you, Tay, for hopping on here
Sure,
and,
sure.
and
Yes.
helping create this video
Yeah.
for people. I'm sure others found it quite interesting as well to see, how
I hope
Zettelkasten
so.
is developing in other parts of the
Mm.
world. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Scott.
All right.